Hello everybody, I'm Andrea Miller and I'm a registered dietitian at community hospitals and wellness centers in Bryan. And I'd like to welcome you to Live It in a Pinch. Today we're going to be making a sweet treat that tastes like cookie dough. So I'm calling them cookie dough bites. And I guess I've actually already made cookie dough bites before, so we'll call this cookie dough 2.0 because it has some unique ingredients in it. So in this recipe, we're going to be using chickpeas for our base. And I know you might be thinking that seems really odd, but when you mix it with peanut butter and honey, vanilla and chocolate chips, you'll never know that there's actually beans in this sweet treat. So for this recipe, you need a food processor. And the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to blend our oats into a flour. And if you have oat flour, you can use that as well. So I'm just going to add my oats into the food processor and give it a pulse. And when it's broken down almost to a flour-like consistency, you can add the rest of your ingredients. So I'm going to add 1 can of chickpeas that's been drained and rinsed, peanut butter. You can use any peanut butter or nut butter that you have on hand. So almond butter would work well, or cashew butter, if that's your thing, or even sunflower butter, if you have allergies to peanuts, would work well too. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of honey. So this is just 1/4 cup. And a touch of vanilla, a pinch of salt. The salt helps to bring out the sweetness and adds just a little bit of flavor. And then just blend it until it's really smooth. You might have to stop it every once in a while and scrape down the sides. All right, that looks good to me. You'll see it kind of formed into a sticky ball in the food processor. So there it is. And I am going to now transfer the dough into a bowl. And if it's a little bit too sticky, you can always add a little bit of extra oat flour. Once it's all in your bowl, you're going to add your chocolate chips, and you can use any kind of chocolate chip you'd like. If you want to play with the flavor of this recipe, you can. So maybe you want to add some white chocolate chips and cranberries and macadamia nuts. You can add any mix-in you'd like at this point. The chickpeas in this recipe are an excellent source of fiber and protein. That's why I love them so much. My kids love eating these balls for breakfast, and I don't even care that there's a little bit of added sugar from the chocolate chips and the honey, because I know that when my kids eat these, they're getting the extra fiber and protein that they need, along with lots of other vitamins and minerals. So I'll be honest, I've never made a single batch of this before. This is the very first time. So this amount looks a little bit shocking to me because usually I triple this recipe. My kids love them so much. If I just made 1 batch, they'd go through them in a day. So I make a triple batch and they last us a couple of weeks. How do they last us a couple of weeks? Do they last that long? Absolutely, because you're going to store these in your freezer. So what I do is I put them into balls on this tray, and then I'll pop the tray into my freezer and freeze them for a couple of hours, and then transfer them to a zip-top bag. And once they're in that zip-top bag, they'll last for several months, if they last that long. So once you kind of have them all portioned out, you can take them in your hands and roll them to kind of smooth them out if you would like. Or you can just kind of leave them, a little bit oddly shaped like that if you want. So here's my cookie dough 2.0. I hope you love them as much as my family does. Thanks for joining me today on Live It in a Pinch.